By the end of the 11th century, Western Europe was rising, yet it faced powerful rivals. The Byzantine Empire, a remnant of the Roman glory, was struggling. The Seljuk Turks had seized vast territories, leaving the once mighty empire vulnerable. Enter Emperor Alexius I, who took charge in 1081. His reign marked a pivotal moment. He sought help to reclaim lost lands. In 1095, a desperate plea went out to Pope Urban II. This was no ordinary request. Alexius asked for mercenaries from the west to combat the Turkish threat. The tension between Eastern and Western Christians was palpable. Yet a flicker of hope emerged. Urban II saw an opportunity. He rallied support, igniting a fervor that would lead to the First Crusade. Thousands answered the call, driven by faith, glory, and the promise of land. What unfolded was a series of brutal conflicts that reshaped history. The Crusades were not just battles, they were a clash of cultures, ideologies, and ambitions. In November 1095, history took a dramatic turn. At the Council of Clermont, Pope Urban II issued a rallying cry that echoed through the ages. He urged Western Christians to rise and reclaim the Holy Land from Muslim control. This was the spark that ignited the Crusades. Imagine the fervor as nobles, knights, and ordinary people alike answered the call. They donned crosses, symbolizing their devotion and commitment. Thousands embarked on this perilous journey, driven by faith and a sense of purpose. The Crusades were not just military campaigns. They birthed legendary knightly orders. The Knights Templar, the Teutonic Knights, and the Hospitallers emerged, each with a mission to protect the Holy Land and its pilgrims. These groups became powerful forces, shaping the political and religious landscape of the time. The echoes of the Crusades still resonate today, reminding us of the complex interplay between faith, power, and conflict. What drove these individuals to take up arms for their beliefs? The answers lie deep within this tumultuous chapter of history. 4 armies of crusaders set off from Western Europe in August 1096, each led by a determined leader. Raymond of St. Gilles, Godfrey of Bouillon, Hugh of Vermandois, and Beaumont of Taranto aimed to reclaim the Holy Land. But before them, a chaotic group known as the People's Crusade marched under Peter the Hermit. Ignoring the advice of Byzantine Emperor Alexius, they crossed the Bosporus early, only to face a devastating defeat at Sabotis. Meanwhile, Count Emicho led a horrific campaign against Jewish communities in the Rhineland, sparking outrage and a crisis in Jewish-Christian relations. These events set a dark tone for the Crusade. Upon reaching Constantinople, the leaders faced a crucial choice. Alexius demanded an oath of loyalty, insisting they recognize his authority over any land they might reclaim. Most leaders hesitated, but Bohemond took the plunge. By May 1097, the Crusaders, joined by their Byzantine allies, launched an assault on Nicaea, the Seljuk capital. The city, a vital stronghold, finally surrendered in late June, marking a significant victory in this tumultuous campaign. The journey had just begun, and the stakes were higher than ever. The journey to Jerusalem was fraught with tension and conflict. After capturing Antioch in June 1098, the Crusaders faced internal struggles that threatened their unity. Yet they pressed on, driven by a singular goal, the holy city of Jerusalem. The Fatimids, occupying Jerusalem, were seen as enemies by the Crusaders, who were determined to reclaim the city. By June 1099, the Crusaders had encamped outside the city walls. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation and fear. The governor of Jerusalem, overwhelmed and outnumbered, surrendered by mid-July. But what followed was shocking. Despite promises of protection, the Crusaders unleashed a wave of brutality upon entering the city. The streets ran red with the blood of innocents. Hundreds of men, women, and children were slaughtered in a frenzy of violence. This brutal act marked a dark chapter in the Crusades. The fall of Jerusalem wasn't just a military victory, it was a profound moral failure that echoed through history. The cries of the fallen still resonate, reminding us of the cost of conflict and the fragility of faith. The Second Crusade was a shocking turning point in the history of the Crusades. After the First Crusade's swift success, many Crusaders returned home, leaving behind 4 key strongholds in the Holy Land. But by 1130, Muslim forces were regrouping, fueled by a fierce determination to reclaim their territory. The fall of Edessa in 1144 sent shockwaves throughout Europe. This was no small loss. It was the northernmost Crusader state, and its capture by the Seljuk general Zangi ignited a fervor for another crusade. In 1147, 2 powerful kings, Louis VII of France and Conrad III of Germany, took up the call. They led an enormous army of 50,000, the largest yet, with hopes of reclaiming lost ground. However, the tides turned dramatically. At Dorylaeum, the Turks crushed Conrad's forces, echoing the earlier Christian victory. The combined might of the Muslim forces overwhelmed the Crusaders at Damascus, marking a devastating defeat. This failure not only ended the Second Crusade, but also strengthened Nur al-Din's empire, reshaping the power dynamics in the region. In 1169, a pivotal shift occurred when Saladin seized Cairo, marking a turning point in the Crusades. After Nur al-Din's death in 1174, Saladin launched a relentless campaign. By 1187, he unleashed a fierce attack on the Crusader kingdom of Jerusalem. The Battle of Hattin was catastrophic for the Christians, resulting in the near annihilation of their army. The shockwaves of defeat ignited the call for the Third Crusade. This crusade was led by formidable leaders, Emperor Frederick Barbarossa, King Philip II of France, and the legendary Richard the Lionheart of England. But tragedy struck when Barbarossa drowned en route, leaving his army in turmoil. Meanwhile, Richard's forces faced Saladin at Arsuf in September 1191, emerging victorious in the only significant battle of the campaign. From Jaffa, Richard sought to reclaim territory and approach Jerusalem, yet he hesitated to lay siege. The conflict dragged on until September 1192, when Richard and Saladin brokered a peace treaty. This agreement restored the Kingdom of Jerusalem, albeit without its capital, Jerusalem itself. The Third Crusade ended, but the struggle for control in the region continued. Pope Innocent III envisioned a holy mission in 1198, but the Fourth Crusade took a shocking turn. Instead of heading to the Holy Land, Crusaders became entangled in a web of power struggles. Their sights shifted to Constantinople, aiming to dethrone Emperor Alexius III. The plot thickened when they backed his nephew, Alexius IV, who promised to unite the Byzantine Church with Rome. But the twist, Alexius IV faced fierce opposition, leading to his brutal strangulation in a palace coup. This betrayal ignited a furious response from the Crusaders. They turned their fury on Constantinople, launching a brutal assault that would change history forever. The year 1204 marked a catastrophic moment as the city fell to relentless looting and destruction. The once magnificent Byzantine capital lay in ruins, a shadow of its former glory. The Fourth Crusade, initially a quest for faith, devolved into chaos and betrayal. This dark chapter reshaped the relationship between East and West, leaving scars that would last for centuries. The echoes of this conflict still resonate today, reminding us of the fragility of alliances and the cost of ambition. The final Crusades marked a dramatic shift in the purpose of these religious wars. Instead of solely targeting Muslim forces, the focus expanded to any group deemed a threat to Christianity. The Albigensian Crusade from 1208 to 1229 aimed to eliminate the Cathari sect in France. This was not just a battle, it was a fight for the soul of Christianity. Meanwhile, the Baltic Crusades sought to conquer pagan territories in Transylvania, but perhaps the most shocking was the Children's Crusade in 1212. Thousands of children, or so it was claimed, set out to reclaim Jerusalem, yet many historians doubt if they were truly children or if they even reached their destination. The Fifth Crusade, initiated by Pope Innocent III, targeted Egypt. Crusaders attacked fiercely, but ultimately surrendered to the formidable Muslim leader Al-Malik al-Kamil in 1221. A decade later, the Sixth Crusade saw Emperor Frederick II negotiate a temporary peace allowing Crusader control of Jerusalem, but it was short-lived. Louis X Seventh Crusade from 1248 to 1254 ended in failure, highlighting the challenges faced. The Crusades evolved, but the struggle continued. In 1291, the fall of Acre sent shockwaves through Europe. This city was one of the last strongholds of the Crusader states. The Muslim Mamluks captured it, signaling a dramatic shift in power. Many historians argue this event marked the end of the Crusades. The fervor that once fueled these military campaigns began to fade. After Acre, the Church attempted minor crusades. These were not the grand endeavors of the past. They focused on limited military goals like reclaiming lost territories or conquering pagan lands. But enthusiasm dwindled. The rise of the Reformation in the 16th century changed everything. Papal authority weakened and support for crusades evaporated. The idea of holy wars lost its luster. What was once a unifying cause splintered into regional conflicts. The Crusades, once a symbol of faith and power, faded into history. The impact of Acre's fall was profound. It reshaped the political landscape and altered the course of religious wars. The legacy of the Crusades remains a complex tapestry of faith, conflict, and change. The Crusades were a turning point in history, but not without controversy. While they ended in defeat for Europeans, many believe they spread Christianity and Western civilization. The Roman Catholic Church grew wealthier, and the Pope's power soared. This period ignited a surge in trade and transportation. The constant demand for supplies led to advancements in shipbuilding and manufacturing, but the effects went beyond economics. The Crusades sparked a newfound interest in travel and learning, setting the stage for the Renaissance. Can you imagine the world without that cultural explosion? However, the legacy of the Crusades is not one of glory for everyone. For many Muslims, the Crusaders were seen as brutal invaders. The horrific massacres of Muslims, Jews, and non-Christians bred deep resentment. Even today, some Muslims view Western actions in the Middle East through the lens of a crusade. The scars left by these conflicts shaped relations between the East and West for centuries. The echoes of the Crusades still resonate in modern political and cultural attitudes. This reminds us of the complex tapestry of history.